Most people, like me, I hated the portrait mode, but eventually I got around to it, and now this is how I want to watch videos. So I think that I'm gonna go and try making cinematic videos for IGTV. I'm not interested in shooting in portrait mode, specifically for what I do in IGTV. I want to shoot in regular landscape, but then you need to have guides, like so. These are just tape, but make them thin so they don't distract your 16:9. But most of the time, I don't think that's where the problem is gonna lie, because I've done a lot of Insta stories and that sort of thing, and I think that the consistent thing that I've learned is that you need to shoot pretty much at the widest range. So for this, it's 10mm on an MFT, so that you have more of an environment within the pictures, so that's going to make it look more cinematic. And then I would also shoot 4K, because then you have the latitude to push in when you need to push in.
We're in Kino City. It was a bit of a little bit of a dirt road. You guys want to see the damage? Dead battery, dead battery.
No. Second thing is work with the format. So don't try to make a film like you would 16:9, for instance. This is super cinematic. But what makes it cinematic then? You work with the depth of field. So for instance, short depth of field I think is an advantage when you work in portrait mode, because you have much more or much less of an environment in those images. So you will want to separate things much more. So it makes sense to have shorter depth of field when you shoot people. But when you shoot landscape, that doesn't, that's not the same. Work with the light the same way you would in regular films. If you don't have the light in this image, it's probably going to be super boring. So you need to kind of observe light and work with light that is existent in environments. And I would even go as far as to light things. If you can't do it without music, music is just hiding the fact that you can't make a video cinematic. So try to make it without that. But it doesn't just come down to that. Like when you tell a story, you shouldn't let like subtext float up into the air. Like people shouldn't say that, oh, I feel so bad. They should show it. So try to think about showing things with like images and audio rather than saying it in words. That's gonna make people more interested, and it's gonna make more people engaged in your story. You need to have an eye for a story, and you need to convey that to the audience. So the more you can convey that, the more of a cinematic feel you get. That can be camera movements, it can be the grade, it can be the light, it can be like how you go about it in a conceptual way. Is everything close up? Is everything wide shots? Is everything all on tripods? Whatever the vision you have for your story and what tells it the best way, that's what you should go for. But consistently telling that story is what makes it cinematic. Not slow motion, not moody music, whatever that whole ridiculous concept of cinematic came from. Cinematic is a perspective that you convey in a story, and that strengthens the story. That's what cinematic should be, at least. And then finally, it comes down to the grading for me. Like if you want to have things have a perspective or have a look to it, you need to grade things that, tells that story in the best way. And that conveys the mood that you're trying to tell, or whatever you're trying to do with your story. So try to focus on creating a consistent perspective through the grade as well. And once you have that, just render the thing in 1080 by 1920 and you're pretty much set. I would use 7 megabytes bitrate, that type of thing. Just upload the thing and you're done, and hopefully the thing gets an audience or something.